Good morning, my name is Claire Sillett and welcome back to the NBC video series that we're doing in response to the COVID-19. This morning we're going to be speaking to Greg Thornton and Chris Oldroyd from Morgans, and Morgans work closely with NBC and with our NBC clients. And we're just going to run through a few questions with both of them in relation to some of the things that are happening for retirement funds and some of the information the government's putting out in relation to that, and also a little bit about the stock market and what's happening in the stock market. So I'll go to Greg first. Greg, there's been lots in the media about the economic stimulus packages that are out and those ones relating to retirement funds. Can you just run through quickly what some of those are and some of the pros and cons that you see?
Yes, certainly, Claire. Just before I start, just remind that this information is just general advice only, and before anyone makes any decisions, just to consider their own situation before acting. Look, the government has brought out a lot of changes. Probably the two ones that are getting the most interest is the early access to superannuation. So this is something that's always been around, and the government has just modified those. So it's the normal conditions are that someone must be unemployed and eligible to seek a job seeker payment, such as things like New Start. So what the government have done now from 1 January, they've increased that to include anyone who was made redundant, had their working hours reduced by 20% or more, or for sole traders, their business was suspended and there was a reduction in their turnover of 20%. And basically what that means is they can access $10,000 from their superannuation tax-free, and that also applies this financial year and for next financial year. Look, probably the couple of little things there, there's a process they've got to follow, so they've got to apply through the ATO, and then the ATO will grant them approval. SMSF trustees can apply for it as well, but they also just need to go through the ATO. And just be mindful of potentially accessing the super, what can have to their superannuation benefits longer term. The other one that's come through is for retirees, so that is a reduction in the minimum pension that a retiree must take out. So that is meaning that they only need to take out 50% less of what they've taken out. That only applies from now, though, so that it's not retrospectively, so it doesn't apply if they've already taken more than the 50%, then they can't put money back in unless they're eligible to still contribute. And one last thing is just eligibility for age pension. So if their super balances or assets have taken a drop, then they just, maybe where previously they weren't eligible for the pension, they may now be eligible as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. And over to you, Chris. There's obviously a lot happening in the stock market, and there's news flying around about the opportunities and the things to be careful about as an investor. What is the outlook that you see coming sort of for the next 6 to 12 months?
No, thanks, Claire. And as Greg stated before, this is just general advice. You've got to consider your own personal circumstances. But look, where we stand, this has now been going on for about 6 weeks in the Aussie market and globally. The government, federal and state, have both stepped up brilliantly, Reserve Bank and then internationally. So very different situation to what we had during the GFC. To be honest, I found that a much more stressful event. This is self-imposed. This isn't something we're not understanding to begin with. We're understanding exactly what it is. So the simple thing I can say for your clients is not to panic, not to make rash decisions. As with anything, you're looking at the long term. I had a conversation with a potential new client yesterday, and they were talking about, I wanted to invest, I want to make 5 to 10% given the volatility in the next 3 months, and then I have another opportunity I want to use the funds for. My simple response was no. It's not going to work for you. There's too much pressure. It's just not how it's going to work. Where we are at the moment with the market, we're about 5,200 points, just as a rough, stab there. Look, I'm going to say is peak deaths in the US still to come. There's going to be more unemployment data, not only in the US here. Still going to have bad news. So I do expect the markets will come back a little bit in the shorter term, not too far from where we are here. So I'm not panicked and telling people to sell, far from it. But from there, we have a huge amount of stimulus. The effect of everything that Greg touched on. And just around, and I'm sure you're already talking to your clients about is, stimulus for small, medium businesses, large businesses with wages. It will leave people in a position that their savings aren't depleted, that they can redeploy them out the other side. They'll feel a lot more confident. Hence, right now, for the next couple of months, yes, it's not going to be great on the equity markets for earnings for shares, and that's what it's all about. It's all about earnings. But people are already starting to look through that, so the future is looking quite bright. And that's probably the main thing is, look, when the GFC hit, it was 6 to 9 months before we saw stimulus come through globally. We haven't really seen the full effect of the coronavirus yet. However, we've already got a huge amount of stimulus. It's monstrous. And therefore, my confidence post this is really quite high. But it's about picking quality, and it's about asset allocation, never over deploying into an asset you're not comfortable in, because there is nothing worse. So it's just take your time, spend the time getting your groundwork right. Perfect time to be talking to someone like Greg. And then, once you've figured out exactly what you want to allocate to equities, then yes, look, it's probably a golden opportunity.
Great. All right. Thanks, Chris. And sort of back to you, Greg. How do you see, or how do you think Morgans can help clients right now?
I think it's just a case of just reminding people of what their goals and objectives are, and whether that be retirement or long-term investing, and just to focus and come back to those. And that just helps people understand what they're doing, and to just reaffirm why they're doing, and just look at their asset allocation and their risk profile, and not to go in and make a decision that on the surface looks okay now, but can actually affect them detrimentally in the long term.
Yeah. Right. And any further thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's, I think the cornerstone to all investing is getting that asset allocation right, and not, effectively, just because something's on special, is it worthwhile buying? It doesn't matter whether it's walking in and there's a new TV and 50% off. Do you need that new TV? Well, the same with shares is, if you're only comfortable with, 10, 15, 20% in equities, is this the time to be taking that to 60%? Answer is no. It's all about your risk profile and making sure we're investing for the long term. We're not investing for tomorrow. That doesn't work. Give me 10 years, you'll be very happy. Give me 1 month and you're going to hate me for the rest of your life. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Good just to get some insight into, how you both can help clients at the moment, because there is just a deluge of information out there, and so hopefully this has been helpful for clients. If anything is of interest, or you want to reach out to Morgans to assist, please get in touch with us, and we're here to help. So thanks very much, guys, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Cheers.
Yeah.